The disclosure by Victoria Nuland, the Deputy Assistant, Under Assistant Deputy, whatever, in the quote Biden unquote administration, that there are biolabs in Ukraine that the US government has failed to secure, despite the self-same US government warning us for weeks that Russia was about to invade Ukraine. Before we get into the swamp of detail on that, let me just tell you how things stand 2 weeks in, day 15 of this thing. There are innocents in Ukraine, undoubtedly, the pregnant women in labor, covered in blood emerging from a shelled hospital, the dead children lying in the street. But it's harder to figure out who the good guys are. 2 years ago, I was partially suckered by the COVID. I thought that the West's silence re what China had done to the world was because our leaders were simply too cowardly, and Beijing, or Peking, as Peter Hitchens likes to reprimand me, the Peking was simply too powerful. But it's worse than that, as we now know from the disclosure of emails from early 2020 between Francis Collins, head of the US National Institutes of Health, and Anthony Fauci, head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and other so-called public health officials, emails that were strikingly at odds with their public statements at the time. Fauci knew from the beginning that it was likely this was one of ours, as they say. Unbeknownst to the American people, the US government was quietly using EcoHealth Alliance, headed by a British subject, Peter Daszak, as a cutout to do US-funded, in fact CIA-funded, gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which has the security protocols of the average dentist's office. The Chinese Politburo are the slickest liars on the planet, but even a stopped clock tells the truth twice a day. And Chairman Xi's odd insistence that COVID was an American thing turns out to be at least partly true. And according to the official numbers, 6 million people around the planet are dead because of it. That's tragic. That the government agencies responsible for this situation lied about it for the last 2 years, very angrily in the case of Fauci testifying in Congress, is evil. We're now going through the same old rigmarole with the belatedly coughed up Pfizer documents that show a 23% systemic adverse effect, and that the vaccine, once it's in your arm, likes to check out the rest of the neighborhood. Within 48 hours, 0.09% of it ends up in the ovaries, and over 16% in the liver. That's good news for Pfizer, because in a year or 3 we'll have a whole bunch of new ailments requiring whole new lines of medicinal products. There is a gag from a British comedy show, Mitchell and Webb, that has become world famous. The 2 German officers in World War II sitting around chit-chatting when the penny drops. Are we the baddies?